All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is the Fight Insight Podcast, episode 200. I'm the host, Timmy B. I never thought I would be here, and I definitely didn't think that my co-host for episode 200 would be this girl right over here. This is Danielle Drop Bear Curtis. Danielle, what's going on?
I am so excited to be here, and I'm ready to go.
I can't believe that you are finally here all the way from Newcastle, Australia. So thank you so much for taking the time. This is crazy. I've been watching you for a long time, dying to have you on the podcast. I've talked about you many times on the podcast. I'm sure you've heard on the streets of Australia that Timmy B was looking for you. So thank you for joining, and let's get the show started.
Absolutely. Let's go. Let's hit it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Fight Insight Podcast. Let's talk.
Was that super loud? That audio?
It wasn't crazy. Like, it was definitely louder than our audios, but it was fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Didn't blow my ears off. It's fine.
Thank you, professional Drop Bear. Now, look, we got to get with our guest. Our guest today, I'm very excited to meet. She is a hot prospect out of Welsh. How do I say it? Out of Wales. She is a Welsh national boxing champion, just signed with SuckerPunch Entertainment. Her record is 0-0. She is a total unknown to me and to you, Drop Bear, but we are going to bring her to the fans right now. So please welcome to the podcast, Lexi Walton.
Hi.
Bam! Lexi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
Not bad. Thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Good.
All right.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Drop Bear. Here we go. We have our Lexi Walton joining us. Now, Lexi, I had a good friend of the podcast reach out to me, Mr. Brian Butler, the owner of SuckerPunch Entertainment. And he said, Timmy, I need you to get this girl on the podcast. She is just signed to us. And here's the thing, Lexi, I heard that you were being courted by many management companies. But before we get to all that, who is Lexi Walton?
Well, I'm a mixed martial arts fighter. I've been doing martial arts since the age of 4 and hoping to start my amateur MMA career now in March.
Very cool. And sorry, how old are you now?
I'm 16, turning 17 in January.
Are you allowed to fight MMA so young? What is the rules there?
So my coaches, Richard Shaw and Jack Shaw and Carl Parker, they've wanted to match me for amateur since last year. They felt as though I was ready, as long as I was comfortable with doing headshots. But like, due to my weight and being so light, it's quite difficult to find me matches at amateur anyway. But fingers crossed, I'm on the route to putting on a few kilos, and hopefully I can get a match now in March.
Very nice. The Christmas feasting will help you add on some pounds, right? I keep going up a weight class, and I'm not a fighter, so it's fine. These things just happen. Drop Bear, at what age did you start fighting, Drop Bear?
I'm the opposite. I started very, very late. I didn't even walk into a gym until I was at the back end of being 25. So very late. So I kind of got two sides of the coin here.
Yeah.
So I only started learning to throw a punch the back end of 25.
But Lexi, as I said in the intro, you're the Welsh national boxing champion. Do I have that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I competed in the Welsh National Championships in boxing this summer just gone. I think it was June, I want to say. And I got through to the finals and won a Welsh vest. So that was quite a big accomplishment. And I haven't been doing boxing for as long as the rest of the other martial arts. I've probably been doing boxing, I'd say, about 3 to 4 years. So yeah.
Did you do that just to get a matchup or some competition? Because I know obviously we talked about finding fights as a female is always difficult, let alone when you're at those smaller weights. So was it because there was an opportunity to be able to have fights in boxing, or was it something that stuck out about boxing that made you go, well, I want to try and do that first?
Yeah, well, I wanted to incorporate training boxing as well, because obviously it's so good for head movement, footwork, like it does play a big part in MMA. But then my coach said, like, I can get you matches. And I just thought it'd be a good opportunity. And not just that, but it's keeping me active whilst I can't find the fights in the MMA. So, yeah.
Yeah. Are you at your gym where you are training? Are there other females that you're able to train with? Because that's a story that I hear as well, which is that a lot of times, especially people of lower weight class, even with men, they find it difficult to find training partners that would kind of match what they're going to see. How is the gym that you're at?
Yeah, it's so difficult to like find people even slightly on par with my weight. I have got one other girl in my gym. She's a little bit heavier than me, but she gives me a tough time, but is quite on par training. So that's like really good for me. And then, yeah, all the guys are just way bigger, but it's quite good because I find that training with heavier bodies and opponents, I find it then when I go into a fight, it's just so much easier. It's like a walk in the park.
Yeah, definitely. Drop Bear, what about you out there in Australia? I know that the fight scene is pretty good there and it's popping there, but finding training partners for yourself?
I have never had a female training partner in a gym that I have been in that actually does MMA. So a lot of gyms will have heaps of people that do jiu-jitsu, but I've never had a female like MMA training partner ever. I have traveled to go train with other fighters and even a lot of fighters that I have fought. So after we've fought, we've traveled and trained together, to help push each other. Iron sharpens iron, and, I love that about the sport as well. But yeah, in my own gyms, no, just me.
That's crazy. But you got to think, like, if we're sitting here seeing a young Lexi Walton starts training at 4 years old, the sport has evolved so much, right? That's the big thing now. People are growing up saying, well, I grew up watching GSP. I grew up watching Anderson Silva, right? So kids now have seen this from a young age. So to them, this is like a normal sport. Like for me, like, I think, I don't want to say how old I am, but I remember watching Royce Gracie in UFC 1 at my friend's house, like during high school. So that generally ages me, but we were watching it as it was growing, as the sport just became new, like we saw it. So training for me, myself training didn't happen until I was in my mid 30s because it wasn't even a thing, I couldn't even find it. So, but Lexi, here's the thing. So you're training, you're doing well. How on earth does a young girl from Wales get on the radar of management companies, let alone SuckerPunch Entertainment? How does that connection come about?
Well, I have quite a big social media platform, and Brian's partner, Brian Hamper, mentioned me to Brian and just gave him the nudge to be like, watch this girl. So that kind of put me on the radar. And then Brian, not long after, got in contact with me and then with my dad. And at that point, I was only 15 years old. And he wanted to manage me back then. But me and my dad felt as though I was still quite young. It was just no need for me to have a manager at that point. So we both came to the agreement that it'd be quite a good idea just to, get to know each other, build that relationship. And then this year, obviously, as I've announced not long ago, I've officially signed now with SuckerPunch Entertainment. And yeah, it's just so good though as well. Obviously, I'm turning 17 now in January, so they couldn't have been any better timing, to be honest.
Yeah, that's crazy. Congratulations. And what I will say is I've had Brian Butler on this podcast. I've met him, great guy. Gentleman Josh Hill, Canadian fighter. He's kind of the agent for the Canadian contingent here. And I've met him in person and had him on the show as well. I'm a big fan of his. I've met so many fighters that are represented by all different management companies. But what I will say is the one company that sticks out is Sucker Punch Entertainment, in the sense that I don't know how, but somehow all the fighters feel like they're Brian's best friend. Like he seems to have like an actual good connection with all the fighters, which is very impressive. And so I'm glad that you're with a good company, and I do hope that it leads you in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. It's arguably like the biggest management company for sports, out there. So, and to be managed by, a management that literally has the same, as UFC champions in there, like Rose Namajunas, I think that's how you say her name.
Yeah.
Is absolutely crazy. Like, I'm just so grateful.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question for you, Lexi. I guess you spoke about the social media helping open up doors for you. Is that something, like, I know obviously you're at the beginning of your career, so you probably don't get asked for advice a lot, but I think social media is a very powerful platform, and these days as fighters, I believe that we need to be marketable, not just
definitely.
Good fighters. So I'd like to hear your take on social media and I guess what you do with your social media. How did you build your following, and do you think it's important for fighters these days?
Yeah, definitely. I think, using social media obviously is growing all the time now. And, I think using that, you've got to be able to promote yourself well, because by doing that, you're only going to get further and push yourself further out there. And obviously then, you can get the likes of big management companies, big sponsorships that will be able to help you, and promoting as well, like to encourage younger generations to get into a sport. And, it's not just about being in a sport, but it's also being able to defend yourself. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, Drop Bear, because Lexi, I will say there's a big danger of social media as well. Like for yourself. And here's the thing, Drop Bear, for people that are listening only on this podcast, you don't understand. This is a 16-year-old girl we're talking to, right? Who, like, by all accounts, when I'm looking at her, this is not a fighter. This is not some rough and tough, like, thug on the street. This is just a nice young girl who's competing in martial arts and living the dream to get to the highest of highs. Your social media is very proper. Obviously, I mean, you are a girl. I'm sure your parents would kill you if it wasn't good. But I mean, I guess the thing is how dangerous is the social media and the pressures to put content out? I'm sure you have friends and peers that are doing stuff that isn't so great on social media. I mean, like, you have to be a professional. At 16 years old, you're already trying to become a professional in the business you want to be in, which means everything you do is under a microscope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you feel that pressure? Does it bother you? Are you okay with it? Like, how does that feel?
To be honest, I find working under pressure, I react quite well with it. But honestly, I don't really feel that much pressure, like within, social media and training as well. I don't know whether that's because I don't know any different. But yeah, I've always been told that I'm, very like wise-minded. I'm way older for my age than I actually am. So I feel like that, just having that maturity about me definitely helps.
Yeah, nice. My good friend, UFC fighter Brian Bam Barberena, he's been on this podcast many times. We always say that we're old souls. So maybe you're one of us, Lexi. Maybe you've got an old soul like us, and that's why it's all good. Were you like a bad kid? Are you growing up in a bad part of town? Like, why are you in martial arts?
So I started off with the typical dance and gymnastics, just trying to get me into something. And I never worked well with it. I never wanted to go back after trying it. And my dad was always really big on, obviously, because of the world we live in today, like, you have got to be really careful, especially being a girl as well. It can be quite things. So my dad was always quite big on me just wanting me to know how to defend myself. So he took me kickboxing, and I just fell in love with it straight away, to be honest. And ever since, I've just wanted to progress. And then I started obviously doing Muay Thai, and then my coaches were like, you should do jiu-jitsu as well. And honestly, I've since that, like, I've just increased my love for the sport. I've always said I wanted to be like the next Ronda Rousey.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, Drop Bear, what are you thinking here? You're seeing this young Lexi Walton, got a good head on her shoulders. Any advice that you would give her coming from a pro such as yourself?
Well, firstly, it makes me so happy to hear and to see, because I think this is what the sport is all about. And again, right. I believe a lot of the same things as you do, Lexi. Like, I put a lot of things on social media as well, and same kind of concept around wanting to help inspire the next generation. And I would consider you the next generation coming through. So it's awesome to see how passionate you are about the sport, because I think that's one thing all three of us share here is how passionate we are about MMA, and to see your goals. And I feel like you're doing a lot of all the right things. I probably the only one thing advice-wise would just be keep doing what you're doing, keep working hard, keep showing up even when it's hard. And you probably will feel the pressure at some point. And, you know, pressure is just what we put on ourselves. So don't be too harsh on yourself. And my favorite piece of advice that anyone ever gave me, and it sounds really harsh, is no one cares. So we all think that if we win or we lose a fight, when we walk down the street, every single person knows and they think something about us, but in reality, no one really cares. So the day after a fight. So don't let what other people think, I guess, impact you, which I don't think you are. It sounds like you're just focused on your goal, which is the best way to get where you want to go.
Yeah, definitely.
One word of advice that I'm glad that Drop Bear is not giving you, Lexi, is to populate your social media with bad dad jokes.
That's me only.
Because that's what she does. And every time it comes across on my story, I'm like, oh my God, another one. And then I have to. It's really bad, Lexi. It's really bad. What about bad,
it's good.
Yeah. Okay. What about your friends, Lexi? Like the people in your school and stuff like that, they're going to school, they're playing video games, they're goofing off, doing whatever. Do they understand what you're doing? Is it like, are they like, what the heck's wrong with this girl? Are they fascinated by it? Are they fans of yours, or do they not even know?
In comp, there was mainly off boys. There was a lot of negativity towards it. They'd always, try and make fun of me and stuff. But, you've got to thrive off of the hate. Like, you're going to always have it. You've just got to overcome it and just completely ignore it. But I'd say my friends, I have really good family and friends around me. I have a really good support system. And obviously, I just put my time into those. Like, why would I waste my time, trying to prove myself to anyone else, But yeah, they all really support me. They like what I do and they think it's really cool. Everyone that I meet new as well. Now that I've gone to college, I've obviously made new friends, and they just can't believe it when I tell them.
Yeah.
Have you experienced any losses yet? Because we know you obviously were very successful in the boxing championships. So have you experienced any loss before, whether that's jiu-jitsu comps or boxing or anything like that? And how did you deal with that if you have?
So I've had 3 amateur MMA fights, but they're no headshot ones. And I've won every single one of those by sub. But I've actually had a few losses in boxing. But I just come back stronger every time. You just, look for areas to improve on. And then I get back to the gym, work on them, and then get better.
That's the perfect mindset.
Yeah, it really is, Lexi, because, I know that you're saying you want to be the next Ronda Rousey. My big thing, and I talk about on the podcast, Drop Bear, is that, to me, the best fighters are the ones that have lost and were able to come back. You know what I mean?
You've got to be able to bounce back from a loss, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I know so many people who, have lost the fight and then they never come back. And it's just not really a great mindset to have. And when it is like that, then it definitely isn't the sport for you, because you're gonna come across it.
Right.
I think it's the difference between the all or nothing mindset versus the all in mindset, where
Definitely.
it's like it's everything until you lose, and then it's nothing, versus, well, I'm going to go all in and back myself no matter what, and use a loss as a learning tool, and then you come back
definitely.
even better.
Yeah.
It's never a loss, it's always learning.
Yeah. Old soul, Lexi. I know you don't have a nickname, and this is a terrible nickname, but Lexi Old Soul Walton.
I don't
terrible.
think walking out to the UFC, my opponent's going to be threatened by that.
I don't think you need
see.
to have a threatening name. I mean, one of my favorite ones in the UFC is Touchy Feely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. But okay, so no nickname yet, and that's fine. You know, a lot of fighters, they take a little bit of a time to get into it. Drop Bear, your nickname is so funny. And I feel like you should share it with Lexi, because the first time I'm watching Drop Bear at Palace Athena, which was in March, it feels like forever ago. Boy, oh boy.
It does.
This girl comes out, and mind you were fighting a girl that I had on this podcast who was a friend, who's a friend of mine as well. Lexi
also
Rook.
Lexi.
Also Lexi, which is so the full circle of Hakuna Matata is there. But so this girl comes out, right, who we now know is Drop Bear, and she keeps like squeezing boobs. And I don't know why she's doing it.
I'm doing claws, but I did explain it in my post-fight speech.
Yeah. Because she comes out, she keeps going like this, and I'm like, what's wrong with this girl?
Hang on. It's not squeezing. It's literally just like this. But anyway.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I only do that. But with the
okay.
gloves, it does make it look a lot more. Yeah, I know. So in case you don't know, you're probably, I'm assuming you've never heard of a drop bear before, Lexi. Yeah, okay. So a drop bear is an Australian creature. It's like a cousin of a koala, bigger and scarier, but it doesn't eat leaves and eucalyptus like a koala does. What it does is it eats people. So it basically drops out of the trees. So it'll drop out of the trees onto people, attack them, you know. So that's why it's a pretty fitting fight name for me. And it was given to me, and it fits and it works, and it's very me. So part of my thing is that, you know, when they announce my name or whatever, my thing is that I obviously put the claws up. So, you know, they're my claws because I'm a drop bear. But in my post-fight speech after I won, I did explain, because I realized that possibly a lot of people in Canada don't know what a drop bear is, even though the commentary team did a great job of explaining it on the stream. But I did say I wasn't grabbing boobs, and that they're my claws because I'm a drop bear. I like to make people laugh, and I think that was one of the highlights of that fight for me. Like, obviously the fight and the performance, I had a great time, and it was very, very good, and I enjoyed that win a lot. But yeah, I made the whole crowd in attendance laugh, so I was pretty happy with that.
Definitely an iconic moment.
It
really
was a
was.
good one. Yeah, it was ridiculous, Lexi. It was so funny. I loved it. But so, okay, so you're growing up, though, you're boxing. No nicknames have come across yet? Like nothing that you've like turned away? You're just waiting till something happens?
Yeah, I'm going to wait until something happens.
Nice,
but I quite like my last name. That's pretty basic, but I just don't know anyone with a surname like that. So I'd be quite happy with no nickname.
Okay, all right. Not bad, not bad. Now, I do want to, yeah. Like, no, what, interesting that she would want no nickname, you mean?
Yeah, but also, like, you don't have to have your nickname in the center. You could have it at the start, you know, like Connor's Notorious Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
If you like the flow of your name, it can go at the start, or it could go at the end. You could be one of the sort of first people, like there are people with it at the end, but you could mix it up and do it after your surname.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, look, we can
like.
Yeah, we can all think about it. We'll all let it marinate, and then we'll send you all of our suggestions, right? Like, I'm sure as you begin your career too, things will happen. You know what I mean?
I feel like you should go with Wreck-It Ralph, but Lexi Wreck-It Walton. I feel like that rolls off the tongue really nicely.
Lexi Wreck-It Walton. That's pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad. Lexi, here's the thing, you know, when I was speaking to Brian Butler, he said like, hey, look, we don't normally sign fighters this young. Like, this is very rare for them to do something like this. So, I mean, I hope that you understand the faith and the inspiration that they have in you, and that they're, you know, that they see great things in you. So I'm very excited for it. I am happy that, you know, that you understand that a loss is just a loss and it doesn't matter, right? Like when,
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
if and when that time ever comes, it's not something to hang your head on, right? Like, people always have bad performances. People always have like something happen, not just in sport, but just in life, right? Like, things don't always go your way. Things go tough, right? But you just bounce back from it. And that's what shows your true character. Yeah. What, you know, I really greatly appreciate you coming on the podcast. What is something that you would want people to know about you? Like, so people that are meeting Lexi Walton for the first time, what is something that you would want them to know about you?
That's such a good question.
He's put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
Is this your first taste of like a podcast and getting fired with all these questions?
Yeah.
Oh, really? It is?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just say.
You're doing incredibly well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Like, really, really handling yourself very, very well. I do want to congratulate you. Okay, here's something. One of the questions that I had for you was, are you doing any kind of like preparation or study for this kind of thing? Like for interviews and stuff? Is there any, like, does Sucker Punch say, hey, we want you to take this class or watch these videos on like how to conduct yourself?
No, he actually hasn't yet. But I definitely think it's a good idea to do that, because obviously, you know, it's not as easy as probably people think it is. It's definitely a big thing. So, yeah.
Well, I will say you're doing an extremely good job, Drop Bear. I would not have guessed that this was her first one.
I kind of guessed, because she definitely had to think about that one, and that's a very common question. So I was like, but you're doing incredibly well. You know, as being someone who's quite frequently on the other side, like on the guest side. Yeah. But I will say you don't look nervous. So if you were nervous at all for doing your first interview, you don't look it. So I'm sure your poker face, your game face when you fight is very good.
Yeah, everyone does say that. When I walk out, I'm literally straight face. I just go in the zone. You never see any fear.
I'm not the opposite, but different. I'm like this the whole time. I smile. I'm literally just having the best time ever.
I think my RBF face just comes into play.
Yeah. All right.
Nice.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. So, I mean, hey, look, anytime you want experience, anytime you want to come back on this podcast, just send me a shout. I'd love to have you anytime. Like, by all means, if you want to talk about something, you want to promote a fight, or you just want experience doing it, by all means, just hit me up. That goes for all your training partners too. Let them know, right? The Fight Insight podcast will have, like, I'll talk to anybody, you know, that's what this podcast was all about. Episode 200. So it's so cool. Like, from me doing it from nothing. Oh, well, thank you so much. But, you know, thinking I never thought I would hit episode 10, you know what I mean? And now this is my 200th week in a row doing this thing. And to have people like you, that was really the whole point of this. Like, this was the whole dream, was to meet people that were like young and up and coming, and just give people an opportunity to talk and, you know, be able to point to something on the internet and go, yeah, okay, well, here's an interview that I did, you know, and then people can learn about you, Lexi. One question that I have for you that I want to ask you, it's a question that I ask everybody that comes onto the podcast. So I'm going to ask it to you. Drop Bear, I'm going to ask this to you at the end of the show as well. So don't cheat and steal Lexi's answer here. But Lexi Walton, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's a question my mom used to ask me almost every day of my life growing up. On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
Right now?
Yeah.
Solid 8.
Okay. Nice. Good answer. And can I ask why an 8?
Because I'm on this podcast, the 200th guest. Possibly would be a 10 if I didn't have college in the morning.
All right.
Fair.
Yeah. But what is important to Lexi Walton? What is important in terms of happiness for you?
To have a good support system around me, good relationships with my family, and just be excelling in MMA and hopefully competing regularly now in the new year.
Yeah, definitely. I'm happy for it. And I really appreciate that you gave an answer like that. That's a cool answer. And I appreciate the honesty. Drop Bear, is anything that you want to ask her before we let her go?
Oh gosh, I feel like I could ask you a million questions, Lexi.
Yeah.
I guess I would love to know what fighter or fighters are, I guess, kind of your inspiration at the moment, or who have you watched that's really got you into the sport and really made you want that goal for yourself of, you know, getting into the highest promotions, whether it be the UFC and becoming a champion, and who are the people that you look up to in the sport?
Well, I've got to be honest. I do look up to, believe it or not, Conor McGregor. I got to give it to him. Obviously, he promotes himself so well. And I think that in itself is such a big thing for MMA, especially if, you know, you want to make a career out of it. Dakota from PFL, she just fought, obviously, on the weekend. She's obviously a young fighter. She's doing really well for herself. Obviously, Rose, she's UFC champion. She's amazing. Chrissy Cyborg as well. She's another really good one. Khabib, he's amazing. Yeah.
This is just the Mount Rushmore. Yeah, this is just the Mount Rushmore of MMA that Lexi is rhyming off here. I mean, you did give some polarizingly different people, though, on the list. You know what I mean? Because you go from Conor McGregor, who's an insane maniac, and then you go to Rose, who's like the super composed, almost monkish lifestyle. You know what I mean? Like so calm and into herself. So, I mean, and I guess that's the thing, right? I guess nowadays, Drop Bear, like you can be taking inspiration from all different types of people and taking like bits and pieces that you want to choose from all those fighters.
Mixed martial arts. Got to mix it up.
That's what it is.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, you know, as well as obviously you've got to have good talent, especially for a sport like this. But I feel like being able to promote yourself well and get your name out there, I think that's definitely a big thing, especially for bigger organizations like UFC. You know, that's what they want to see. They want to see people who are marketable and entertaining for, you know, the audiences to watch.
Do you think about that when you fight, about being entertaining and making your fight entertaining, or are you purely focused on whatever it is to win? Because I think they can be the same thing, but they're often not.
I honestly, when I walk into a fight, all I can think about is just winning. That's all I want to do. It's not just winning though. I just want to, you know, perform to make myself proud. Like as long as I go in there 110%, I'm happy no matter the outcome.
Yeah. Lexi, you got it all. You're very composed. You're very well spoken. I mean, I'm telling you from all the people that I speak to all the time, like I can really tell when someone's kind of got it together, and you definitely appear to have that. So I'm very excited to watch your career. For those that are only listening on audio, come check her out. Come check out the video version of the podcast, but you can see Lexi Walton on Instagram at Lexi Walton MMA. It's been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen, Lexi. That's the best place for people to see you and see your content is on your Instagram, or where else can they find you?
I also have a Facebook page, which is Lexi Walton, and I have a TikTok, which is, again, Lexi Walton MMA, and I'm also on Twitter X, I don't know which one it is anymore, and I'm Lexi Walton MMA on there as well.
All right. Well, there you go. You've got all the bases covered, Lexi. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. Stay true to yourself, Lexi. Like, you're a good person. You're a young fighter. You're a young professional. Stay true to yourself. Don't let anyone change you. Don't let anyone force you to be someone that you're not. You know, stay the path that you've got going, and for sure, good things are ahead of you.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it so much.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Again soon.
Definitely. Anytime you want to come on when that next fight is.
Lovely meeting you too, Drop Bear.
It was lovely to meet you, and I wish you the best of luck. And I prefer to say the best of skill, because I don't believe there's any luck involved, but the best of skill with the rest of your career. And I'm sure we'll all be watching. So
thank you.
All right. Take care, Lexi. Have a good one. See you later.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Drop bear.
Done.
Crazy. Well, what is your take on this young Lexi Walton?
I think she's got all of the tools to be really successful. And I think, while the sport is, people think it's super physical, I think it's 98% mental. And I think that's what she's got going for her on her side for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's crazy when that is how she portrays herself, because to be able to be that put together and to be able to do all that, I don't know why this is coming up so big here on the screen that it's showing that
Drop bear
co-host Drop Bear MMA. Oh, here we go. Here's a little button I got to do. Okay, I'm just gonna put it down.
Yelling at everyone
because you are at Drop Bear MMA on Instagram. So go find Drop
every
Bear
social media platform you can find. It's all
nice.
Drop Bear MMA.
There you go. The claws thing is awesome. Do drop bears exist now?
Of course,
in the real world.
You're speaking to one right now, for starters.
Yes, but your more furry compatriots, are they?
Of course.
Only in Australia? Like, where did these things?
Yeah, no, only Australia.
Oh, and they actually kill human beings?
Yeah.
This is crazy. Okay, I did not know. No, yeah, like, so for Lexi, I'm very excited for her. Geez Louise, it must be a lot of pressure though.
Yeah, but I think she made a really good point though, that she doesn't know any different. So it probably what seems like pressure to us potentially is not, like, she's just used to that. She just rocks up, trains, like does her same daily routine and doesn't understand. It's not that she doesn't understand, I guess, the gravity of, being signed and those kind of things, because she's obviously does, because she's very grateful for it and understands the opportunity. But I just don't think she perceives it as pressure, which is a good thing. And we talk about pressure. Pressure, as I said earlier, is just whatever you put on yourself, whatever you perceive, because you think there's pressure, whether it's you want to do well for your gym, or you want to do well for your family, you want to, whatever it is, like they just want to see you do well for you. Like we perceive this pressure that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah. So. No, for sure. And the thing is too, so I've been doing this for so long and meeting different fighters, and unfortunately and I will say the Fight Insight alumni very often win. Like, we have a very good high win rate percentage. Okay. But when they do lose,
little self-promotion there.
I'm not saying that I want a cut of the winnings, Drop Bear. I'm just saying that it happens because, hey, look, like if
is what I'm hearing.
If there's a bunch of UFC fighters and they're fighting on the same card, I always run a parlay on my guess, because a lot of times it hits. But, the thing is that, where was I going with this?
Oh, we're talking about mindset.
Yeah. Like,
and perceived pressure.
Yeah. The perceived pressure. If she wins, if she doesn't win, like if she's able to compartmentalize that and understand that it's not a big thing. And sometimes, when the fighters on this podcast, when they don't win, I do try to reach out to them. Normally I give it a couple of days or something like that, but I normally reach out and I say, hey man, great fight. Hey, you really did well. You did well. And so many of them will write back right away going, thanks a lot. I'm going to get better and blah, blah, blah. And they all have that kind of common mindset, which is really great to see.
Yeah.
But it sounds like in a girl this young, it's
that's why I asked that question, because I was interested to know if she had experienced loss before and how she dealt with it. And it sounds like to get some form of loss, even though it's not in her MMA career, early on is not a bad thing.
No, definitely not. Like, and that's the thing too, like, being difficult to find fights. That's something too, because I commentate for an organization out on the East Coast, Fight League Atlantic, and you see these amateur fighters and they go out there, they just want the experience. Getting in that cage, going under the bright lights, like Fight League Atlantic puts on incredible shows, like in big venues and the big lights and the big show. And for those amateur fighters, like 17, 18-year-old kids, to get out there, have a crowd of thousands cheering them on, getting the announcer to announce their name, and like to experience all of that, it's so valuable, win or lose, right? Like, it's just 100%. It's all part of the development.
100%. And that's one thing I think you've got to have that attitude, especially at amateur. If you're trying to protect a record, not that I think that you should ever really just protect a record for the sake of protecting a record. Obviously, you want to make strategic decisions in getting to the big leagues, sure. But also, even in doing that, if you're still just protecting your record and fighting people that aren't very good, I'm sorry, but the UFC, they know. They know. So you could fight 100 people that aren't very good, or you could have 5 legitimate wins over 5 tough opponents and get signed. So there's no point at any point in your career protecting a record. That's not a thing in MMA, and it shouldn't be. It may be in some other sports, but you need to fight the tough people, and especially at amateur. The only reason I became a triple champ is because I couldn't get fights, and then I used that to my advantage in the end. I learned some lessons along the way as well, fighting well above where I should have, but I, got a lot of experience. And when you fight bigger people, it makes people in your own weight division feel so much smaller. But just get experience, because I had that same mindset. It doesn't really matter about the losses. Like, obviously they hurt and I had to learn how to deal with them, but what you're getting out of that, you definitely learn something. And you need that at amateur, because if you're not battle tested at amateur, you're going to have a hard time when you go to pro. So just fight the hardest people.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, and again, talking to people, the stories are so different. Like, we had a guy on that is now in the UFC. He had 1 amateur fight before he turned pro, and he was like, I wanted to do it. I knew I could do it, and I go. And then you have other people that had like 20 amateur fights, 30 amateur fights. It's like, what took you so long? It's like, I needed to wait. I needed to develop. I knew what I needed. And it's just as long as you do what is right for you,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your coaches play a big role in that too.
Right. For sure. That said, why have we not seen the drop bear since March?
Oh, it's a mixture of things. There's been some injuries. There has just been, in general, it's hard to find fights as a female.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't matter what weight. It doesn't matter where you are. But especially over in Australia, we have a contingent of really, really good fighters, and the scene is booming, and the level of talent in Australia is so high. It is crazy. But the issue is still, there's not many females, and we've all fought each other. And so you're kind of stuck, because we're on the other side of the world to where the big center of like contingent of fighters are. So, for example, for me to get an opportunity, I did have to fly to the other side of the world, to Canada for Palace Athena, which I was so grateful for. But finding promotions that are happy to pay to fly you halfway across the world is difficult, or getting an Australian promotion to do the same, as in fly someone over from the other side of the world to fight you. So it is one of those things where, again, as we were talking about with Lexi, I think you have to be marketable, and you have to show why. And that's not just through social media. Social media plays a big role. But marketable in terms of being an exciting fighter, look for finishes, not just wins. That added steps is really those kind of things where you can put together something that's going to make someone want to actually pay to fly you. So it is difficult being from Australia in that regard, that you've got limited options. And there's some girls on the regional scene that have fought each other 3 or 4 times. So,
it's crazy.
You're also it's cool to still get a fight. And, the storylines, I guess, if people are fighting each other 3 or 4 times, but there's usually someone who wins all of them or most of them. Like they're, after 3, usually after 2, after the second fight, every fight after that is going to be sort of a similar variation. Right. So, even if you're absolutely dominating them, surely you're not stepping up or progressing as much, because they're not showing you as many different things, or in terms of trying to get to somewhere like the UFC, they're going to look at that and just go, well, you fought the same person 4 times. So yeah, I think that's the difficulty. So there's a few things. So injuries, and then opportunities and a few other bits and pieces. But I have definitely filled my time this year with all the other bits and pieces that I do. Because I'm outside of fighting, obviously I do coaching. I am an official. I'm also a commentator and I am a matchmaker for a fight show. So we did just have another one of our shows for the show that I matchmake on last weekend, which was
very
awesome.
nice.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's cool. What is and wait, what is the organization?
Enduro Fight Series. So it's down in Canberra, the capital of Australia.
Nice.
Yeah. And so it's awesome to be able to, through matchmaking, I guess, kind of give back. And I kind of try to give back as well in terms of the way that I do commentary, because I really want to take all of my pet peeves away from things that I don't like commentators to do.
Yeah.
And really just showcase, make it all about those fighters and find a way to showcase them in the best light that I can. Right. So I think all of the experiences of being an official, knowing what the judges are looking for, being a commentator, being a fighter, being a coach, you know, having cornered people, they all kind of mesh together and make me better at all of those things individually, I guess. And then, being a matchmaker and keeping an eye on all the local, you know, regional talent across Australia and being able to provide opportunities and help build up other fighters is really cool.
Nice. I love it. Okay, well, here's the thing. So I've been commentating for just a little over a year now. And it looks like I'm going to hopefully get the opportunity to continue to do that into 2025. What is something that I should stay away from? What is one of your big pet peeves as an athlete?
My biggest pet peeve is that, and I understand that with amateurs, there may be limited information. You may not know much about them if it's their first fight. My biggest pet peeve is someone talking about what they did on the weekend or what they had for lunch 2 weeks ago while someone's walking out or while they're fighting. You're paid to commentate the fight, call the action, speak about the fighter. I don't care if you tell me, you know, or they look calm walking out, or, you know, you start speaking about their team or their coaches. All of that stuff's good. If you don't have anything left to talk about them, awesome. But I don't want to hear about your weekend, especially when it's during a round. If you've got nothing to speak about the fighters, just call the action. Because I know quite a few fighters that would get kind of frustrated at that. You're watching back your fight and you're invested in your fight and you're hearing something completely unrelated.
How bad are the promotions that you're listening to, Drawbridge? Like, I've never heard that before. That is craziness. I
have heard of that from some of the bigger ones in some different countries.
I thought you were going to say, here's what I thought you were going to say when you were saying like, oh, like some of these amateur fighters are like relative unknowns, right? And like they don't have a lot of fight history and stuff. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say, I don't want to know about their personal life, or I don't want to know about like, what they're doing.
I love that.
And then I'm like,
know all about that.
No, I know, because I'm like, oh shoot, that's all I do. Like I try to get so much, and especially if someone's like an 0-0 fighter, I try to reach out. You know, I'll try to reach out to their friends that they train with. I'll try to reach out to the gym and go like, hey, do you have any cool stories about this person or whatever? Like just to share anything.
I love that.
Because you want it to be about them, like their family, like did they have kids, anything. Because
my favorite question for all the fighters that fight on a show that I commentate is I will send them out like a little survey beforehand with a whole bunch of things, the usual stuff. But I love to ask them what they're looking forward to right after the fight. Like, what's the first thing you're looking forward to? Most of the time it's either food or alcohol, but sometimes you get some really, really good ones in there as well.
Yeah.
And often sometimes the two fighters fighting each other might have said the same thing, but because fighters are really funny, and they'll like hyper fixate on something during fight camp, when it's food or beverage related, specifically food, people will be sometimes so specific. Like I had one girl be like, I'm looking forward to a slice of some brand of like bread from some specific bakery.
Yeah.
just a slice of bread.
Yeah. Well, hey, those are it's all those things that that you deny yourself in the pursuit of this goal, right? So like,
Absolutely.
those little things can really keep you. Oh, that's cool. Okay, yeah, no, good. Thank God. Oh, phew, I was worried.
Yeah, no. As I said, biggest pet peeve is when you're not speaking about the fighters or the teams or the what's happening. And that does happen. I've heard that happen on quite a few different shows.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I always feel bad because sometimes, if a fight goes really quick or a fight is too exciting where my co-commentator and myself are only calling the action and, everything's going back and forth. Sometimes I feel bad because at the end of it, I'm like, oh crap, I really had this thing I wanted to say about him. Or, you know what I mean? Like I'm the opposite. I feel like sometimes there's not enough time. And what I'm working on into next year is giving more pauses during the broadcast and letting the action kind of just speak for itself. Like let the action go, hear the crowd a little bit, right? Like I do like that. And that's what I'm trying to work on actually is to pause a little bit more.
You definitely got to find that flow. And I've started, I guess, because I actually commentate majority of the time with my partner, Jared, which makes life so easy because without having to speak about what we're going to do, what I'm going to do, what you're going to do, we just bounce and flow off of each other and naturally pick up between each other. So if someone's got to do something, because on top of commentating, when I commentate, I actually film on my phone at the same time. And so I will post live updates. So I actually get all the fighters like Instagrams because again, as a fighter, I know I really appreciate if someone tags me in footage. So I actually do live updates while commentating. So I'll be talking and I'll be filming and then I'm posting to Instagram stories and tagging them and looking up what their Instagrams are and stuff like that. So if I have a momentary where I'm like, I need to stop speaking for 1 second while I'm reading their Instagram or whatever, my partner just naturally picks up.
Yeah.
But we have a very dynamic like ebb and flow. But I don't have a problem with you just like from a fighter's perspective, just calling action. I do understand what you're talking about where you've got some great information because some fighters give you nothing and some fighters have something that they really want to talk about, especially if they're dedicating a fight to someone or something like that. Yeah. And then sometimes saying it after the fight is finished doesn't feel right. So sometimes I'll try and like get more in, especially if I think it might be a finish, more in when they're walking out or while they're, usually when they're walking out, I guess. But it's hard, isn't it? Like it's
finding the flow
a while to get that flow.
Yeah. And then the thing is too, like what you're saying, like when you think there's going to be a finish, but like you never know.
You never know.
And you don't want to use up all your stuff. And then the fight gets a little bit slow. And you're like, oh, well, now I've used up all my stuff. I should have saved that story about the kids till later, So it's fine. It's getting the right amount. Yeah, exactly. Not the cloth from which he is cut. Oh, you still have an advanced position? Okay, I don't know what else. Okay. Well, here's the thing, Drop Bear. I could speak to you forever, and like, I really appreciate too that like you're doing the commentary and stuff because I feel like I could learn a lot from you as well. I did want to ask you
about it anytime.
Yeah, I did want to ask you one thing. I want to show you a photo.
Oh, I'm excited.
Who are these people?
Oh my gosh.
From left to right, name them in clockwise order. Go.
I don't know if I can. Oh my goodness.
Just go with the easy one.
Sorry, I need to get closer to the screen.
All right. Nobody can see you right now, so it's good.
Oh, okay. That makes it easier.
Okay, I'm going to do something here and see if this helps you, okay?
Okay. Obviously, we all know who Dakota Ditcheva is.
Okay, so that's Dakota. So now who are the other people?
Why can't you give me Australians?
No, okay, but not the names, but who do you think this group of people is now?
Oh, from PFL.
Yeah. They are the...
Champions.
The champions.
I thought you were asking me for names, not a general... Okay.
Sure,
okay.
Sure, I was. Yeah. But I mean, even if you had said, wait, isn't that the guy from PFL? Here's the thing, Drop Bear. The 2024 PFL season is over. Yes. Did you watch the finals?
I watched part of the finals. I definitely didn't get time to sit down and watch all of it because I was on such a weird time.
I'm trying to
here in Australia.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think of what time it would have been for you.
Yeah, it was
would have
really
been like
weird.
7 in the morning, 6 in the morning.
Yeah,
maybe?
yeah. So it was pretty much over by the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went back and watched Dakota's fight.
Sure.
Didn't watch it live, obviously. But because of that, I didn't really watch.
Yeah.
The finals.
So here's the thing. Now, I would love to see the Drop Bear in PFL. Okay, like I want to see Drop Bear anywhere.
Me too.
So don't PFL, please do not, like, the comments that Timmy B makes is not the comments of Drop Bear. PFL has been a disaster. The finals, Drop Bear, occurs during the middle of a Friday afternoon. I had no clue it was happening on a middle of a Friday afternoon. Their promotion, the promotion was horrible about the event. I had no clue it was happening on a Friday afternoon.
I knew who was fighting in certain divisions, but I didn't know when it was on. And then all of a sudden I wake up to everything and I was like, what? When did that happen?
That's what I mean. I thought they were showing last year's shows on their Instagram until I realized, I'm like, wait, isn't this year's finals? Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt like there's been more hype around the European tournament, to be honest.
I mean, sure. Because at least maybe there's some sort of local love, right? Where the PFL Europe is like, oh, well, these are our European fighters. We're going to promote these guys. The PFL has done such a horrible job. Their whole season culminates at the end of the season with this finals. I don't think anybody watched it. And why is it on a Friday afternoon? It was Thanksgiving in America.
The production is good and the fights are good. It was just like, I feel like I didn't know exactly when it was on. It wasn't sort of trending being such a drastic different time than when they normally are on, I guess.
That's what I mean. Drop Bear, you are dying to gain popularity. You're dying to gain a fan base. You're dying to do whatever. Why would you not get us accustomed to the time and days that your shows are on so that we can lead into it? Here's the thing.
Maybe they would have went head to head with something else at the time slot that they wanted to or something. But I just feel like if you're going to change the time, it needs to be plastered everywhere. You
got to smash me in the face with it on my Instagram 24/7 for the week prior. I should have that date and time should have been burned into my skull. As it is, Drop Bear, and I'm telling you, we've documented on this podcast the failures of Bellator, right? Boy, oh boy, if you can get to Bellator, I would love it too, but don't sign any long-term contract. I mean, you've seen what the fighters have been coming out and saying lately, and we've had fighters on our podcast, Drop Bear, they're not paying their medical bills. They're not signing them up for fights. They're just lingering there. One guy came in and said that he pretty much thought that they screwed him over with a fake drug test to get him out of the PFL season. And it's
would that happen to have been an Australian?
No, it was not.
Oh, okay.
No, it was not. Oh, okay. Wait, you're telling me you think you know a story where PFL faked a drug test to get someone out of the season?
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
I know.
To be a fair few fighters during that section where a number of them all failed drug tests and had never failed drug tests before, when they had a different drug test company come in and do it for one thing that happened to be a number of their champions.
See,
you remember. Was that person a part of that group where there was a whole stack of people that all got pinged at the same time?
No, I don't think so. And I have no clue what you're talking about.
Oh, really? Okay.
So the thing is the guy that I'm talking about, he was on this podcast. So it was Daniel James, the American Predator from Chicago. Great guy. He's his name, the American Predator, is literally he looks like the Predator. He came on this podcast and he talked about, and I had no clue that whole story had happened. I just liked the dude and I had him on before. Yeah. And I said, hey, do you want to come back on? Wow. He goes, and he's like, and then he details this story and I'm like,
you're like, so wow, this is all unfolding.
Yeah. And I had no clue. And he goes, oh, I wanted to tell you the story first on your podcast. I'm like, dude, I had no clue this even happened to you. So now you're telling me that this year And again, this is like whatever you're saying. You
Not
don't
this
know.
year.
Oh, 2
The
years
reason
ago?
why people aren't in this year's tournament.
Oh.
So end of last year or beginning of this year. But I'm not saying it's PFL. I'm saying there was a different drug testing company that they bought in that they then got rid of. And that when they did their results, there was a number of people that all failed. You don't remember that story?
No, not PFL, not Bellator.
Okay. Can you remember an Australian champion in PFL? Male?
Jeez Louise, this is embarrassing.
Razor, Rob. He used to be in the UFC briefly.
Razor Ramon?
No, Rob Wilkinson.
Oh, okay. See,
So the only reason I know is because I remember when he got pinged. But when I looked into it, there was a number of them that because he was the 2023 champion.
Okay. And
so you notice he's not in this tournament because he failed a drug test. But there was a number of them that all failed drug tests. Yeah, there was a stack of them. And again, I don't think that's PFL. I think that's whoever the drug testing company is, but
sure, but you're telling me people don't talk or blah blah blah, right? I don't know, weird stuff is happening. All I know, I should investigate this further, but all I'm telling you, Drop Bear, is that how to go bankrupt in 6 easy steps. Here you go. Yeah. you pay $6 million to these people that you didn't promote at all. I can't name you one of those 5 guys. I apologize. I can't. Golstov. I know that the heavyweight guy's name was Golstov, but aside from that, I can't name any of the guys. Of course, Dakota Jacheva, but that's because they were promoting the crap out of her. Every fight she had.
Well, and I think she promotes herself a lot too. I think it wouldn't matter what fight promotion she was on, she would always be that hype person. And same with Kayla Harrison. And PFL done a good job of marketing them, but I understand exactly what you're saying. We don't know the others the same degree.
Right. And then here's the thing, what I was saying to Lexi is hey, is SuckerPunch Entertainment telling you to practice your media skills or whatever? And hey, maybe coming on this podcast was the practicing the media skills, right? Which is, I'm happy to do it.
And she did very well.
And she did incredible. But that's the thing though, right? Again, if that's the issue, if PFL is sitting there going, well, shoot, these 10 guys in the finals, they're not really promoting their social media. Pay someone to go and figure it out for them. Send them to a social media class, get them and go, hey, look, dude, you need to promote yourself because this is big business for us. As it stands.
That's where fighters who can do media and can promote themselves and can capitalize on opportunities. So if someone does ask them to come on, a podcast, or if they are, they get a microphone shoved in their face, are they telling someone to go away, or are they taking a hold of that moment and that opportunity? Because you see, every time someone shoves a microphone in the face of Dakota, she's always got something to say, and she's always basically cutting a promo.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And people might hate her for that. People might love her for that. But everyone knows who she is. So it works. And then obviously her hard work in terms of her skills, she's putting that all together inside the cage as well. But it's not just because she's winning, because look at how many fights she's got. No one knew her in her first 5 fights.
Right.
So, and she was been stopping people from day dot. But as soon as she got really into, promoting herself, and she does a fantastic job of that. So I think we all need to learn the art of, capitalizing and self-promotion. And I understand there's a lot of fighters that don't want that. But unfortunately, that's a part of the sport now.
That's right. It's a part of the business. I mean, and look, people that are listening to this podcast that aren't an athlete, that aren't a fighter, it's still a part of your regular job's life too. To think that going on LinkedIn and not publishing some articles, or being a little bit active in whatever profession you are or whatever industry you're in, right? To be there and to do something, it gets noticed, right? And
well,
if it
networking is the biggest thing across anywhere to getting opportunities. Networking is not going to get you the job in any field if you're not doing the work and at least proficient at the work. But if you can form those bonds and those connections, you're going to get opportunities that you won't get just by working hard.
And it's the experience of doing it too, because the first time you go to a networking event, or the first time you go on an interview, or the first time you do a podcast,
maybe.
and you just shy away in the corner, drink your drink. But the thing is, and a lesson that I learned early on is the best time to promote yourself. All the time.
Now, all the time.
Yeah. Right now, yesterday, right now,
anytime, yesterday. Yeah.
Like,
I agree, and you, it's a learned skill.
Yeah,
like some people have the gift of the gab, but I guarantee you, the first time they were interviewed probably didn't sound like they do now. I think, like, I love to talk, but I probably wouldn't have been as polished. Probably would have had a lot of filler words every 2 seconds. Like, those are things that you do have to learn to not just word vomit, form thoughts first and think about it, and not panic. It's okay to have a moment silence to think about something. That's a skill in itself as well that you have to practice, and you practice by doing it. Like anything else, you have to. And I think this is the other thing. I think a lot of people think they see something on social media, they see a video, like, for example, if you were to look at my account and you went and looked at, a 10-second funny video that I've made, and you go, oh, that's easy. Anyone can do that. And that's where I think some of the issues are too. It's not that easy. It is a lot of hard work as well. And I think also that's the same thing with doing interviews and stuff.
Yeah.
It can be hard work in terms of learning those skills.
You're 100 million % right. I mean, again, we're going long now, and I got to go soon, but I appreciate everything you're saying, and I could go off on this topic forever. Times.
You would feel it too, because like if you look at your first podcast episode versus 200, you build.
Yeah. I think a tiny bit better than I was 200.
Well, I think actually what is the biggest issue is a lot of people don't want to do something unless they're perfect. So they'll wait and they'll wait and they'll wait. And I did that with starting a podcast. I did that with deciding to stream. I was like, no, I want it to look really good. I want it to sound really good. Yep. And I don't want to do it till I know it's going to be good. But like, then you just never do it. So you got to just jump in and let it be crap, and then build and get better and better. And I think people are scared, and it's the same with anything. When you learn something new, they don't want it to be crap. Just embrace it.
No, in all honesty, and that's like, geez Louise, I could go on a million tangents from what you're saying. But what I will say, when I started this podcast, I was doing it just with like local fighters or like friends at my gym, whatever, right? Like getting the flow of it and figuring this out, figuring out the buttons, doing whatever. I'm still figuring out the sound issues. Like, I feel like today it's probably going to sound better, but my last podcast, holy crap, Drop Bear, it was so bad.
Oh, no.
The button got pressed or something. I was echoey. Like, these things happen. But here's the thing.
Absolutely.
When I started the podcast, I was like on episode 4 or 5 or whatever it was. And then the guy I was talking about, Brian Bam Bam Barberena, who was a UFC fighter that I just had really liked. And this is like, 4 years ago. And I had chatted with him on Instagram a little bit, just sent him some love when he would kick ass and beat Sage Northcutt, and so he had said, he goes, I'll come on your podcast. And I go, okay, dude, I'm not ready yet. Like, it's crappy. Just hold on. And he'd be like, no, I'm going to come on. I don't care that you're ready. And he forced me to like open the doors to him. And he's like, I don't care that it's not ready. He's like, no, like, you'll grow this. And like, since then he's been on like 10 times, 11, right? You know what I mean? Like, he's a great guy and a good friend of mine.
I love that.
But I love that he pushed me to do that. And you're right. Like, you can't just wait until you're perfect at it, because guess what? If you're perfect at something, then it's not for you. You got to be doing something that challenges you and makes like
it's that
you have to work at. Otherwise, why do it?
Well, it's that whole thing of imposter syndrome. Like the whole idea of, oh, no, it's not good enough. I can't have a guest like you on it.
Right.
Because I'm not ready. I don't know what I'm doing, And that's, I don't know, imposter syndrome has always been seen as like a negative. And it's something that I've worked on, like with my thought process is that now whenever I feel like imposter syndrome about something, I flip the script and I now view it as a positive, because whenever I'm feeling imposter syndrome, it's because I'm pushing myself outside of my comfort zone, doing something I haven't done before or that I'm not very experienced in, so I don't feel super comfortable. But that whole process is something that's going to develop me and push me, learn new skills, and self-development is what you want. And that's a good thing. So I've tried to remind myself of that imposter syndrome is now a good thing in my mind, not a bad thing. Yeah.
I like it. Drop bear dropping the knowledge. I'll tell you that. That's what's happening. Drop bear, I like, honestly, like ever since I watched you fight, huge fan. Like the way that you fight, kick ass. Like I was like, holy crap, this girl is really good, man. I'm really hoping that we see you soon back in the cage, wherever it is. I really hope to see you. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. Like this has been an absolute honor and a privilege to be able to have you on. I do have to ask you though, before we get going, and I know I'm really running. I'm sorry for keeping you so long.
Oh, I don't mind. You're all good.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you, Drop Bear?
Right now, I'd probably say a solid 9.
All right.
I'm pretty happy. You know, there's definitely things that I wish were going a little better. I'm in a very stressful point of life, but I always like to look on the bright side. I'm very grateful. I think practicing gratitude is very important. I have a wonderful partner. I have beautiful dogs. I have a great team. I have a job that I work. I have a full-time job. I'm grateful for all of the experiences and all the wonderful people in my life, and getting to do something that I am genuinely passionate about, even in the times when I can't do it, when I'm injured or, I don't have a fight or I'm, off having to do something else. I'm still grateful for the fact that I found something that I'm passionate about. A lot of people never find their passion. So, that's why even if I'm not fighting, I'm completely consumed into the world of MMA, and then I'm always grateful for opportunities like this to be able to come on the podcast and to speak to you and, be able to have all these great conversations about the sport and about commentating and about all of these bits and pieces. That genuinely makes me happy. So,
nice.
Yeah.
I'm glad. Well, thank you so much for joining. I reached out to you really last minute. I know we've talked several times about trying to get you on the podcast. I'm so happy.
We made it happen.
I know we made it happen. My co-host Ringside Rain is very disappointed that she doesn't get to meet you, but hopefully we get to hook that up soon.
We'll make it happen for sure.
We will make it happen. But thank you so much.
Can I ask quickly before you go?
Yeah.
How happy are you?
Oh boy. Start the clock. I don't know. Drop Bear. I be honest. I feel like I'm like, I don't know, like a 6 or a 7.
Hey, every day is different. Yesterday I was probably a 2. Today I'm feeling all right. And that's
just for me, I just feel like the world is a really messed up place, and I do admit that kind of gets to me and bothers me. My wife I love so much, and that is perfect. My wife is great. My 2 cats are adorable. Those little dummies, nothing makes me happier there. Like, I'm content. I have a good job. I love doing this podcast and whatever. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like I travel, sometimes I'll travel to like Italy or Portugal or something, and I'm like, why am I living in Canada? Like, that's a real problem. I'll tell you, Drop Bear, because like
it's cold.
It's cold. Our food is all processed nonsense garbage. Like everything is a franchise restaurant. People
you need to come visit Australia.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, there you go. I don't know. I just feel like there could be things that I should do to make me happier and to live life. I just got to take the step to do it.
Yeah.
I really love the opportunity I have with Fight the Atlantic and doing the commentary. Like that has been a total dream come true. So there's all these like great things, but I just feel like there's so much more I feel like I could do or should do. So I just got to get on that stuff, but I don't know. Yeah.
Sometimes you need those days to like reevaluate your life and your goals and your direction. Yeah. 100%.
And that's what it is.
I know I've had plenty of those days. As I said, I think yesterday was one of those days for me.
Yeah.
So I'm firing myself back up.
And I do think, like, I know Australia was really bad during pandemic, but Canada was pretty bad as well, like in terms of the amount of lockdown. And I really feel like that just stagnated me too, like health wise and like fitness wise and stuff like that. It all tanked for me, man.
Yeah.
You know? And
it's hard to come back.
It's hard to bounce back. Like, I'm not a professional fighter, so I don't have to, you know? But then it's just hard. It's hard to
your reason why and fitting it back in your lifestyle and all of that.
Yeah. But anyways, I don't want to end it on a bad note. Look, this is episode 200, you son of a gun. And so right around now, you're going to see some clips here that will right around there that you'll see some other episodes that you can click on. But drop there, Danielle Curtis. It was an absolute pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. We'll definitely see you again. And thank you for making this a very special 200th episode.
Not a problem at all. Thank you so much for having me. And you guys can find me all on any socials. Drop Bear MMA.
And it's all down there at the bottom. Yeah, go get her. Go follow. Don't complain too much about the dad jokes. Some of them are pretty good.
That's how you know it's a good dad joke.
I know. No, I love them. All right. See you later, Drop Bear. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.